The old clock in the town square chimed 6, its rusty gears groaning a familiar tune. Elara, a young woman, known more for her quiet demeanor than her ambition, instinctively pulled her shawl tighter, even though the spring air was mild. She had lived her entire life in Oakhaven, a village nestled between the whispering woods and the murmuring river. Her days were a predictable rhythm, tending her small garden, assisting her aging aunt at the bakery, and occasionally dreaming of a world beyond the familiar cobblestones. Elara had always been content with her modest life. Change was a foreign concept, something that happened to others, not to the unchanging fabric of Oakhaven. Her aunt, a woman as steadfast as the ancient oak in the village center, often remarked, "A steady hand and a steady life, that's the secret to happiness, dear." Elara believed her. However, a subtle shift was occurring, a tremor beneath the peaceful surface of her existence. Whispers of a new trade route, bypassing Oakhaven, began to circulate. The bakery, once bustling with travelers, saw fewer faces. The market stalls, once overflowing, started to look sparse. A silent anxiety settled over the village, a fear of the unknown. One crisp morning, a stranger arrived. He was a cartographer named Kael, his face weathered by sun and wind, his eyes holding the light of distant horizons. He spoke of new lands, bustling cities, and vibrant cultures, a world so different from Oakhaven that it seemed plucked from a fantastical tale. Kael sought lodging at the bakery, and Elara found herself drawn to his stories like a moth to a flame. He spoke of maps as living things, constantly changing, constantly revealing new possibilities. He spoke of journeys not just as physical acts, but as transformations of the spirit. Elara, who had only known the unchanging map of Oakhaven, felt a stirring within her, a desire to explore the unseen territories of her own potential. Her aunt, however, viewed Kael with suspicion. "Change is a disruption, Elara," she warned. "It uproots what is good and true." Elara respected her aunt's wisdom, but Kael's words echoed in her mind, challenging her ingrained beliefs. One evening, as Kael prepared to leave, he presented Elara with a small, unrolled map. It was not of distant lands, but of Oakhaven itself, drawn with exquisite detail, yet with faint, dotted lines extending beyond the familiar paths. "These are the paths not yet taken, Elara," he said, his voice soft but firm. "Sometimes the greatest discoveries lie just beyond the familiar." The next few weeks were a struggle. The bakery's decline became more pronounced. Elara watched her aunt's shoulders slump a little more each day. The once vibrant village square now seemed to echo with unspoken worries. It was then that Elara remembered Kael's map and his words. She began to spend her afternoons not just tending her garden, but exploring the dotted lines on Kael's map. She discovered neglected paths leading to a forgotten spring, its water surprisingly clear and sweet. She found a patch of wild herbs, far more potent than those in her cultivated garden. She even stumbled upon a small, abandoned cottage, its overgrown garden promising dormant beauty. With each discovery, a new idea sparked within her. What if the villagers could revitalize the old trade routes by offering unique, local goods? What if they could use the wild herbs for new remedies, or the cottage for a community craft workshop? Hesitantly, Elara began to share her ideas with her aunt, who, to Elara's surprise, listened. The initial resistance was still there, but the desperation of their situation chipped away at her aunt's steadfastness. Slowly, with Elara's gentle persistence, a plan began to form. Elara, the quiet girl, found herself speaking passionately to the village council. She, who once shied away from attention, now stood tall, her voice clear and resonant. She proposed a new initiative, the Oakhaven Revival. It involved cultivating the wild herbs, creating unique artisanal crafts, and offering guided tours to the forgotten spring and other hidden gems of Oakhaven. It was not easy. Many villagers were resistant to change, clinging to the comfort of the familiar, even if the familiar was failing. But Elara, inspired by Kael's teachings and her own growing confidence, did not give up. She organized workshops, taught new skills, and tirelessly advocated for her vision. Slowly, Oakhaven began to stir. The forgotten spring became a popular spot for picnickers. The wild herbs found their way into new teas and remedies, drawing buyers from nearby towns. The abandoned cottage bloomed into a vibrant craft center. The dotted lines on Kael's map were becoming real, tangible paths. Elara, once defined by her quiet contentment, had become a catalyst for change. She still tended her garden, but now it was a source of inspiration, a reminder of growth and transformation. Her aunt, though still a creature of habit, now smiled with a new light in her eyes, a glimmer of pride in her niece's courage. The next time the old clock chimed 6, its groans seemed less weary, more like a triumphant announcement. Oakhaven was changing, not just surviving, but thriving. And Elara, the quiet girl, now carried within her the expansive map of her own boundless potential, ready to explore whatever new paths life presented. She had learned that true contentment wasn't found in avoiding change, but in embracing it, in becoming the architect of one's own evolving story.